do you want to keep doing it? It's been 2. Let's bring it back. Let's take it back. And hello, everyone. It is I, Dillon Bertzel.
And Warren Chow.
Yeah, I liked a little bit of a pause. You're like, how deep is he going to go into this?
Yeah.
How long is this going to take?
I was like, this is quick. We're already saying our names. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. Hello. Welcome to Pop Culture Party People, the only podcast about pop culture on the internet. And we've got a lot to talk about today. I don't know if you listened to last episode. We've got some really cool animated stuff to speak about today. But before we got into that, I don't really have any geek news to get into, but I don't know about you, but I'm in my feelings today, Warren.
Yeah, for sure.
We got this blue light going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just
nice little cue. We're really living in the moment right now, really living in our feelings. So let's get gushy.
Absolutely.
How you feeling?
I feel like it's a good time to speak about stuff. And that's what I like. That's what I want us to do.
Yeah, talk about stuff. Yeah, that's general enough that anyone can get on board with that.
Absolutely. Well, I was really taken with a lot of the beauty that we watched this week, and I was just like, oh man, I can't say that so much for Tank Girl.
But I can't wait till we talk about it, because there's a lot of beauty to the artwork and also how ahead of its time that movie truly, truly is.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to getting into a deeper discussion about Tank Girl.
Yep.
But as I was watching Fog Hill, I was just kind of blown away by how masterfully done it was, and kind of the same thing with Golden Boy to a certain degree. And then I started feeling a little self-conscious. I was just like, man, I hope I can create something that good or interesting. And then that feeling kind of just led into other stuff in my life where I was just like, I hope I can find someone. It's hysterical how your brain can be like, man, I love this show. Why haven't you created something like that?
Yeah.
Are you ever going to find love?
Yeah. You're having a real existential dread. And if I can't find my art, will I even be able to find love?
Yeah. It's like, brain, please stop doing that. I was having a great time 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then you decided, no, let's be sad
your life
now.
Is terrible. Yeah. I had that after watching One Night in Miami. That movie is so perfect on so many fronts. The directorial debut as Regina King, who got the Golden Globe that she deserved, the all-star cast, Leslie Odom Jr. just killing it as just a pretty much replication.
Such an interesting story that a lot of people don't even know.
Yes. But loosely, it's it's a play, so it has some realism to it too, but it's also kind of fictionalized. But after watching it, I was like, oh, I'll never make anything like this. It's not in my wheelhouse. I'll never be able to tell a story like this. And I was like, man, that's really sad. But I'm happy that this exists.
Well, yeah, I think the good thing is whenever I see something that's so profoundly cool or beautiful, I don't ever feel like shit. I'm upset that this exists. I'm excited that this exists. I'm so glad that I got to experience it.
Still a fan. Yes.
Yeah, I'm still 100% into it. But then, of course, being creative people, we look back on our careers and our lives and we're like, are we gonna do it? Yeah.
I don't know. I also I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't be the one to write a story about Malcolm X, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown getting together in a hotel room. I shouldn't be telling that story. But maybe I can tell the story when Jackie Chan met Bruce Lee on set of Enter the Dragon. Maybe I can tell that story.
Oh, and I think you should. That's totally fine. And you know what? Who do you want to play, Jackie or Bruce?
Honestly, I don't want to play either. I want to direct it. I want control, like a true Chinaman.
That is an amazing story, which would make for a really cool movie or miniseries in and of itself, and start developing that.
Yeah, sure. I'll do the true story of Jackie Chan being a stunt guy in Hong Kong and working his way up. Yeah, sure. I'll make that. Anywho,
it's kind of weird that documentary doesn't already exist.
I wonder if he's not selling his rights. I feel like it's after he passes, maybe that will happen. But he seems more interested in making campy action movies still than he is making a very down to earth retelling of his life.
Yeah, I hope that changes before he dies, because I would really like somebody to like really interview him, like an honest to goodness. Like the dude's had a rough life, like starting out in Hong Kong cinema and all that. Like the man has had some like real depth, and I would actually like him to open up about that and not just be kind of like funny.
Agreed. And if you watch a lot of his interviews too, he's always been kind of like very funny and very charming and kind of goofy the entire time. You don't really get to see that kind of dark side to him.
Yeah, no, I think anytime you can pull away that veneer, and I think that's one of the things I started really liking about Jim Carrey, like when he kind of transitioned from being like, I'm on all the time to I'm still on, but there's like a lot of inner turmoil that's going on. Like I've got
to then being like, reality isn't real and we're all, this is all simulation sort of.
Maybe not that stuff so much. That maybe takes it a touch too far. I mean, he could be right. Who am I to say if we are living in the Matrix or not?
Yeah.
I do love that line in the Matrix that they tried to make everybody happy and it failed. Like the human brain is wired for misery all the time, which goes back to our earlier point, which I was just talking about. Like, yeah, your brain can just get sad for no reason.
No reason at all. Be just chasing pain for no reason at all.
Yeah.
My brothers and I are doing a book club of the book series, The Powder Mages, and the first book is The Promise of Blood. It's basically a pre-steampunk era where people have magic and some people can control gunpowder to explode and use it to kill bullets and whatnot. And we just finished it, and then I was like, we're all talking about what we want for the next book. And I was like, yeah, I want the lead character to go powder blind, lose his power, and have to struggle with that all through the next book. And they went, wow, you want a really depressing next book, huh?
Yep. Take me there, please. Yes. Joy, I don't know what you're speaking of. Please make me go powder blind.
Yeah. So what's going on with you, man? Tell me about your feelings. What are the throes of blues that you're in right now?
I don't know. I would say that we've talked about this, and we've both dealt with depression in our lives. I go through weird depressional phases. I wouldn't say that they're seasonal depression phases, although I do think that those happen, of course. You know, when the weather gets cold, less sun, all that stuff definitely plays an effect on you. But, you know, I just came off of like 3 weeks of filming stuff, and that was really exciting. And then once you get back into the like day-to-day of like, I need to find an apartment. I'm not making enough money. I'm trying to get this project off the ground. I haven't made a YouTube video in a really long time. I'm loving doing this podcast, but it's one of the only things that I'm kind of doing creatively wise right now. And I'm like, I feel like I'm letting myself down. But then, of course, I also am like, I'm really tired, and I just don't really feel like putting anything out in the world because I don't know if it would be worthwhile, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue.
No. Please say what you're about to say.
I was going to say that these creative doldrums that we can go through are so painful to ourselves. It's like our souls are screaming out, being like, hey, you need to create, but then I'm too tired to help you create right now. And I think in this time, we just have to be kind to ourselves. We have to be our own best friends and be like, hey, we work hard, we are talented, and when the time is right, we will work on it. I mean, you just came off a hellish set for a month. And basically went right from there, like 2 weeks later, and then did this shoot for 3 weeks straight. You've been working nonstop. And you did a role in the COVID era that doesn't exist, and you were bled dry, man. So I think, and you need to give yourself some time to rest. You should forgive yourself for not being able to put out the content you want right now. Because if you rush it now, you're not going to be happy with the quality of it. So just be your own best friend. Take some time to journal about ideas you want to do, recharge, and take in the successes that you've had. Because not like you've been laying on your couch being like, man, I haven't done anything. You were on a set working for a month. You're filming your next documentary. You're playing the groundworks to your next project. That's amazing. And you met a certain Dom that really kind of brightened your day. So like, I think in the reality of COVID, you've had a wonderful 3 months, man.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And thank you for saying all that. And I think it's good to hear people say that. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting reassurance. Obviously, you don't want people to blow smoke up your ass, but you also need a certain level of just like, hey, it's okay. You're doing okay.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. It's like, I didn't just spend the past 3 weeks whacking off doing nothing. I just spent the last 3 weeks filming 40 plus interviews for my next feature length film. And like, that feels good. And, but of course, the shitty thing is your brain so easily forgets like, oh, you just did all this work? That's great.
What's the next thing?
Yeah, your brain is just like, okay, well, yeah, but you still haven't done YouTube in like 3 weeks, dude. So like, you really need to fucking get on it. Like you need to make that happen. And I don't know, it's just one of those things. I've been watching a lot of Good Mythical Morning. Have you ever watched that show before?
No, let me type it in right now.
It's like this very famous YouTube show with these two internet personalities that have been really famous for like close to a decade now. They're called Rhett and Link. You've probably
yes, I know of them. Yes,
yeah, you've seen them, and like I like it because it's kind of mindless and it kind of just like is fun entertainment. But also I see because they've been doing it for so long, like their friendship seems kind of like frayed, and it's at some points it seems like they're maybe not forcing it, but like they're also combating like being in the industry for a decade, and they don't necessarily seem super happy. Yes. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I love what we're doing. I love being a documentarian. I love doing all this stuff. It's just, your body just sometimes it just doesn't. I shouldn't say your body, your brain sometimes is just not on board.
Yeah, your brain's not on board. Your life can kind of take you in diverging ways. You hear these stories so interestingly when like news jockeys who are a pair always end up like hating each other and going their separate ways. Like Rhett and Link seem to be going through the same thing. Like it's that weird thing when you're in a duo. Eventually, it just kind of meets this point where the communication kind of hits a bad point. Or maybe business deals go bad, or someone doesn't feel. It's the communication. It's like classic two men not knowing to communicate. Don't express it. Keep the business going, and it doesn't work out.
Well, the crazy thing is, like, I do think that they are. It's just one of those things. Like, if you watch early episodes or late episodes, it's just like it feels different, and it probably should, right? Because you've been working together for a fucking decade. You're like an old married couple at that point. It's it's not fun anymore. And that's like then of course my brain is like, that's sad. I don't want that to happen to us.
It won't. We can make it fun. We're not trapped in some weird studio like what they are. They like eat sausages, and one eats it cooked, one eats it raw, and see who throws up first.
Basically,
we're not doing.
We don't necessarily need to fall into that trap. And I don't think what they do is bad in any way. Like I said, I've actually been really enjoying their content as like a thing to lose yourself in. And I like, obviously people have like The Bachelorette and shit like that to like, and I think those shows are garbage, but I also understand why they exist because you don't have to think about it,
Yes.
Like, yes. My whole biggest issue that I've always had is I'm always thinking it's like a fucking millstone in there, just turning.
If you're not watering it, then just grinding on itself.
Basically. And it's just, and also, I met kind of somebody up in Denver, and that was nice. And it's, I'm about to be 30 this year. It would be nice to have someone,
something consistent, something more substantial.
Yeah, it would be nice to have something more substantial, but I'm also like just confronting the fact that like dating was hard before, and COVID has just made it exponentially worse. Like it's not making it any better. And I don't know. It's like online dating just feels so unfulfilling.
Yeah, for sure. But there must be something nice about the lack of superficialities now. It seems like people were just more forthcoming. What with COVID, like, hey, what are you looking for? Is what I'm looking for. Does this match up?
I haven't found that so much. Maybe it's because obviously it's still hard to get matches. I still think that there's a certain level of like game playing going on, and it's just like, this is exhausting. Like, like we don't need to do this. Like,
if you're looking for someone to talk to, like, then you can find an outlet for that, but don't use it in the guise of a dating site.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of just what I've been going through. I don't know what you've been going through, but it's just one of those things where. Yeah, I'm happy. Like, I'm really excited with all the stuff that we've been doing for this show and my documentary and all the other stuff. But then, of course, like, there's just life, like, lurking around the corner with a fucking hatchet all the time, where it's just like, I'm here. And you're like, yeah, I know. Please.
I'm dealing with possibly the end of an era. So I'm offered this 9-to-5 job. It's not official yet, but my interview went really well. I'm just waiting for the offer letter. But it's a 9-to-5. and they want creatives, and they said that there's flexibility. For the listeners, I did air quotes on both of those words because a company will promise those things, but whether or not they actually follow through with it remains to be said. My friend already works there and tells me it's a great culture and that these things do exist and they want you to pursue your crafts, and then have this to fall back on. But it sounds too good to be true. And
yeah, we've been burned so many times on jobs that have said that. And yeah, you
Yes.
were 100% right. The air quotes are super strong on,
Yes.
yeah, no, we totally want you to be creative in our box. And
Right.
that box is very small.
Right. Oh, you have an audition, and then well, if you don't, show up at 9 for this, your TPS fucking reports, then you have to find a different job. But through the interview and everything I've heard, it sounds like it's not like that, and it's really special. And 80% of their staff are actors and comedians who are just working there to pay their bills and then do their other projects outside of it. So like they stamp that as what makes them special, is that they don't rely on college students. They rely on artists and creatives to be their customer service, allowing for more real service and more genuine conversations. So I'm dealing with the possible end of an era where I can just be an unemployed artist. And
which I will say for listeners who don't understand, that is both a blessing and a curse.
Because as much as I want to believe that, I can work my 9 to 5, and then afterwards I'll do my After Effects course, and then I'll make a video, and then I'll do this character. Like, I know part of me is real lazy, and it's like, well, will I really do that? Will I do that? So it's learning the schedule, learning to be diligent.
I don't think it's lazy at all. I think that the human brain, I mean, we literally have to sleep for fucking 8 hours anyway, right? And then if you have to fill another 8 hours of your time with being engaged, right? Like, you're actively engaged in this task and you're working and you're making money. At the end of the day, when you look at like doing 8 hours of work and then you're like, okay, it's time to be creative now. It's really hard.
It's really
to
hard
do that.
But if I'm being honest, I've always found that myself when I'm the busiest, I'm at my best. Like when we were playing D&D, and I would literally bike from Brooklyn to go there to then do deliveries afterwards, and then go work at Apple, and then go auditions, and then do improv, all within like 2 days. I was my happiest and I was at my best. So I'm excited for the challenge to be extremely busy again. I've been a seriously unemployed artist for the last year, so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting transition, to say the least.
Dude, yeah, it's been I don't think I can work a regular job anymore. Like, my entire career has been artistic stuff where I had tons of freedom. Even when I was doing security for VCard, it was only 2 days out of the week. I killed myself for 2 days so I could do all the other stuff I wanted to do. And that has not set me up for doing any other work, really.
Those transferable skills are a little hard to put on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, also this week, I was trying to get a new apartment, and this was just like so demoralizing. So it's like, you go for the apartment, and they're like, how much do you make? And you're like, well, it really depends, like, on a project. Like, I made close to $15,000 in a month. Is that good? And they're like, well, what did you do for the other months? And I was like, not much. Well, I mean, a lot, but nothing that paid. And they're like, well, that's not really good enough. So at first they're like, yeah, your W-2s aren't strong enough. We're going to need you to get your parents
to co-sign,
to say that, like, to co-sign. So I did that, and they're like, well, actually, what we really need you to do is say that your parents will provide the rent.
God.
And I was like, but my parents don't provide the rent. Like, you can call my landlords right now.
So many references.
Even with COVID, even with me not working for a year, I have paid the rent every single month on time.
With
never
the bow
missed a
on
thing.
it,
and,
and the Hershey's Kiss to go with it. You've been a delightful tenant.
Yeah, and they were like, well, our corporate office isn't going to accept that. They need a notarized note from your parents saying that they'll cover it. And I was just like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no. So I talked to my folks later today, and luckily COVID's been not great for them, but, with them selling their house and us moving to Albuquerque, which is much cheaper and stuff like that, I was like, hey, look, I know that we've got a little bit of money right now. would you consider investing that in another property that I essentially buy the mortgage off of you? I can't get a mortgage myself because, once again, I'm not a real candidate for anything. But they were the amazing thing, and this is why my parents are just the best. They were like, "Oh, that's a phenomenal idea, actually. Like, we should do that. Not only just for you, but for us, so that we can have a property that if you need to go to LA for a month or two, we can rent it out as an Airbnb.
Great. And then you have that passable income, and that just adds to everything. Yeah.
And it was just like, I mean, I love my parents for so many different reasons. They're amazing people, but it was just another one of those things where it's like, I think we all get stuck in the system, right? Or a lot of people are okay with the system that we've kind of built up. And when you have weird cogs like me and you and some other people, you just don't fit anywhere for a while, like for a really long time. And it doesn't, and that also adds to the anxiety of like, am I making the right choice of doing that? Should I have just like become an accountant because it would have been easier?
But that's the thing, like this whole cog in the system that we were told we're supposed to fit in, and what we have to fit in it's not for us, not for everyone. It's not for people of color. It's not for artists. It's not for working class people. You know, that building is there to help people who are well off and, you know, can eventually buy some fucking timeshare in Tahiti. You know what I mean? So like.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I mean, the system is breaking as we speak, you know, with COVID and all this other stuff. I'm very glad with the decisions I've made. Like I have very few regrets in my life, and none of them involve the choices I've made for my career. Like none of them fall into that.
Because what if you were an accountant? You wouldn't be happy. You wouldn't even be here today. You know, like you'd be hating your life.
I probably would have committed suicide. Honestly, they're like at a very specific point, knowing who I am. Like, I mean, some of the only reasons I'm alive are because of my family and friends. So, yeah.
I think also, I think like in Jurassic Park, like life finds a way. You know, like you can try to escape.
Oh yeah, hit me with that full Goldblum, baby.
Life finds a way. I think of Goldblum. Let me think.
Oh, fucking slow it down. Make it.
Yes.
Get into your Goldblum body.
Yes.
I want you to fully transition Fly style.
Yes. So you see, chaos theory says, yes. So life, yes, finds a way.
I liked it. Very good.
Thank you. But you know, things that you are talented at and are better at, the jobs are going to lend to that. You're going to find yourself doing that. If you're a people person, even if you want to avoid sales, if you want to avoid customer service, those jobs will find you. Someone's gonna be like, "Hey, you're really good at this. Do you want a job? Do you want to make some money?" Or like your friends are gonna be like, "Hey man, I'm selling this product. Can you come and help me out?" You know, like it's gonna always find its way.
The crazy thing is, life does find a way. Thank you, Jeff, for saying that. And no, I do completely agree with that. I think it's very easy to get in a funk, but it's also very easy to get out of a funk by just plugging along, just keeping on. And I have to say, and I'm going to thank you very much. This podcast is one of the things I look forward to most about my week. And I love you. And thank you for allowing me to be emotional with you.
Well, I love you. Be emotional as much as you want. I'm glad I can be emotional and safe here. And this is one of the delights of my week by far. Happy awesome. PCPP to you.
Yeah, a happy PCPP to you as well. Well, now that we've gotten all of those disgusting emotions off of our chest, men being emotional, what are you, some kind of fairy? No, we're not. We're men. We're totally fine, and it's okay to be emotional.
If I could have glittery wings, I'd be really happy. You know, wonderful.
As a matter of fact, I think if you were a little bit more emotional in your own life, not you, but I mean people who are listening who are maybe not emotional, you'd probably be a little bit healthier mentally.
Yeah, I love this. You have a character now. You have the toxic male character.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we channeled that into the podcast. We've got actually guy and toxic masculinity. Fuck. Well,
you could argue that they're both the same thing.
Oh, you know what they are? Yeah, two sides of the same coin. Oh, fucking God. All right. Well, what should we do first? Do you want to do Tank Girl? Do you want to do Golden Boy? I feel like we should save Fog Hill for the end because that was by far my favorite thing that we watched.
I'm dying to talk about Tank Girl. I'm dying to talk about it.
Oh, then let's fucking talk about it, baby. You
all
fucking
right, so
take it away.
allow me to introduce our next classic segment. Is it good?
Yeah, but is it good?
But all right, you talked a lot about it, but is it good though?
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, for real, is it good?
Yeah. I only have like, I don't know, like an hour and a half to watch a movie. Is it good?
Yeah, like I remember it from my childhood, and I remember liking it then, but I'm a 40-year-old now.
Yeah. So does it hold up? In this segment, in this segment of Is It Good, we take a look back at classic films from our childhood and we see if they hold up today with our lens as film critics and writers, producers, directors, and filmmakers now. And the movie this week is Tank Girl.
Yes, it is. 1995.
1995, it has Laura Petty, as the lead, and female director of Rachel, I'm going to butcher this name, Talalay. And I want to highlight that because you don't see many female directors directing a big budget action movie in the 90s. And this movie is so ahead of its time. It's really the blueprint of a modern day comic feminist movie. This movie was so powerfully feminist, ahead of its time, or probably wasn't accepted, wasn't liked at all, that you can just see how formative this movie was for our current landscape now.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this movie is a decade too early to its detriment. You know, like there are a lot of things in this movie that you could like if they were handled better. And like there's so many good ideas that are just executed so poorly.
Yes. Like it misses the mark so much.
But yeah, like I think Hot Topic got started by this movie. When I was like rewatching it, I was like, holy shit. This started a whole fashion trend. Dude, Hot Topic?
Well, yeah, if you were to take any of Tank Girl's outfits and put them on a woman today, she would just be a woman of today. It wouldn't there would be no like, oh, are you in a Tank Girl outfit? Like, oh, I love those pants. Where did you get those?
Yeah, I am in love with your half shaved head, half dreadlocks.
Yes, with the blue and white striped pants, with your leather jacket tattered with like a single dread or whatever.
Yeah, killing it.
And it has to be said that Tank Girl, there is no Harley Quinn if there is no Tank Girl. She is such a homage to Tank Girl. You know, the character, the voice, the personality, the look. I would
absolutely say that yes. Although Harley Quinn came into existence before Tank Girl.
Yes, through the animated show.
I would say that the iteration that Margot Robbie did and the iterations that we know of Harley now are very heavily inspired by Jamie Hewlett's style for sure. And yes, I can 100% see that.
To such a point that Margot Robbie's production company have bought the rights to Tank Girl and are working on a remake.
I mean, I'd love to see Margot Robbie as Tank Girl. I mean, I'd just like to see Margot Robbie anywhere.
Agreed. So brings me to my question to you. If you were to recast Tank Girl currently, who are you casting?
Well, I think Margot Robbie's a great pick for Tank Girl. I think that's good. God. Who would I have as her jet? Who would I have as best friend? It'd be nice to see a person of color in there. Maybe somebody Asian. You know, very few Asian females like acting that I know really well. Maybe I fucking love Ali Wong. Like, ooh, I love, like, I am in love with her. She's so funny. She is so funny. Yes. And, like, every time she speaks, I'm like, yeah, I want to marry you. You're just the best. You're just the best woman that's ever existed. I love you. So I love Ali Wong. As for the villain, I don't know. I mean, any generic white guy will do. I could do it. But you know what? Let's throw Idris in there. Idris, like, he likes to do weird fucking roles.
Yeah, he's always for it. Yes,
that don't make any goddamn sense. And then we should get Ice-T back for sure. And then as for Booger, her kangaroo love interest, I don't know. Someone,
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And I was reading a little bit behind the scenes, and Ice-T continues to be this really interesting person. So I guess in those kangaroo suits, they had to wear all the prosthetics. They had to have a team working the ears and the tail separately, and they were in Arizona for the shooting of it. So it'd be like anywhere from 100 to 110 degrees.
Brutal.
And they would be dying. But they go to Ice-T, and he'd be just completely fine, unbothered by it, just kind of just bopping around. And be like, Ice-T, like, why do you seem unfazed by this? And he goes, it beats being in prison, and walks away. And I'm like, all right, fair enough.
Dude, I have such an admiration for Ice-T because Ice-T has been so unequivocally himself his entire life. And there is nothing but respect for that man. Totally. That man was into gangster rap, then started a fucking heavy metal band called fucking Body Count that had a song called Cop Killer. The dude loves death metal, has championed death metal its entire fucking career, has hysterical views on marriage and his wife and all this. Like, I love Ice-T. I love Ice-T as a person, and I hope I get to meet him someday. Because, all of his, like, reality of life things are amazing. It is better than being in prison. I agree.
Totally. So, like, is it that bad? No, it's not.
There was another one I was reading on IMDb that somebody was like joking with him on a talk show about the movie because it obviously did not do well. And he was like, "I don't give a fuck. I made $800,000 on that movie."
And that's why he doesn't care about doing his cop shows. It's like, I don't give a fuck. They're paying him great money. He shows up the set, does his stuff, and goes home.
And not only that, but I don't think anybody's lost any respect for Ice-T. Ice-T still has the exact same amount of respect from everyone all the time, as he should.
And he's not an asshole. You don't hear any of these stories of like him being on set, being the worst person. He just gets it. He just has this,
He's just a good dude, full of swagger.
Head on his shoulders.
I fucking love him. I love Ice-T to death. So there are things about this movie that I do like. I agree, like, Jamie Hewlett's animations in the movie are gorgeous, although those animations weren't supposed to be in the movie because those were supposed to be real scenes, but they
couldn't afford to make it.
well, not only that, but apparently the production was like just really bad production. And it was like at the last minute, they're like, "Hey, Jamie," and the other guy who wrote Tank Girl, whose name I can't remember, I'm sorry. They were just like, "We need you to animate these sequences." And they were like, "What?" Not only that, but all the editing in this movie is mind-breaking. Yeah. There are okay. I'm glad that it's a female director. Once again, ahead of its time, really cool. I'm glad that she was given access to this budget. But man, oh fucking man, the choices that were made in this film. Like, there is literally a sequence where they get the fucking tank and the pain plated. And it's like to make it not water tech anymore. Yes. And there are, I didn't count how many there were, but there have to be over 200 cuts in this fucking 1 minute sequence. I felt like my brain was breaking from the amount of footage that they jammed into this minute. I was like, I can't watch this.
What made me laugh. What made me more angry was the sequence before that. There was like the surprise character actress with red hair who was like supposed to spook up on them and curious who they are. And literally, it's a single shot, and Tank Girl walks around her and hits her over the head and knocks her out. Like, there is no cut to her hiding. Yeah. Literally, like in a nursery school Duck Duck Goose game, just walks behind her and knocks her out. It's like, you guys weren't trying at all. There's literally no choreography.
And that's the other thing. Like, I think Lori Petty was a phenomenal choice for this character.
Yeah.
But she is so fucking annoying in this movie.
I love her. There's a piece of my heart that belongs to Tank Girl. So.
I love her, and I loved her in Orange is the New Black. It was so cool to see her come back. But you are right, and that's one of the things about Harley Quinn that can get really annoying, and they really lean into it. Like, if you don't give her some stakes, right, and like really ground her sometimes in the movie, this like whole slapstick thing is just going to get real grating real quick 100% of the time. Not only that, Naomi Watts gives one of her worst performances. She's like fucking a wet blanket.
Yes, she's so shy. She just doesn't know how to act. She's just so afraid of the camera. It's crazy.
It's weird. Also, I didn't even realize it was her I'm so used to seeing her as a blonde woman. I was like, who the fuck? Holy shit.
She looks familiar. Is it? Well, I actually had a thought more so that I preferred Tank Girl over Daredevil, because Tank Girl has these stakes of she could die. She's just a normal human who can get punched in the face and bruised and killed at any moment. But she still has the balls to say these crazy things and still put herself in harm's way of getting shot in the head. Whereas with Deadpool, he says the same things knowing that he cannot die. So it almost takes the piss out of it in a way. So like I almost enjoyed the devil may care attitude of Tank Girl more so. I would say what annoyed me with Laura Petty's performance was she didn't know what to do when the camera was on her exclusively. She could only react and piss people off and play the jokester role. She could never be alone in the scene and really own it. And that's where I thought she fell.
I don't take that away from Lori Petty. I take that away from the director. Like that's the director's job to be like, hey, this is what the scene is. We need you to do this. We need to narrow in on what this is. Yes. And I just think that the script probably went through so many I read that the script went through so many rewrites, so many it was doomed to fail because once again, this took place in 1995. The world was not ready for this movie. Mm-mm. There's no way for it to succeed the way that they did it. That was the entire time I was like, who's this for? Is this for like the MTV generation? Because I don't think they're gonna like it. It's clearly not for adults. It's not for kids. Mm-mm. Like, who is this movie for? It's not even for comic book fans because Tank Girl, not a big property.
Is it for gutter punks who can't afford a movie ticket? If it's for them, then they can't afford a ticket, so they're not gonna come see it. Yeah. So all of this stuff, I do think remaking it would be a good idea if they could actually give it some stakes. And admittedly, the Tank Girl comic is weird. Like it's one of those. It's more. She gets pregnant by a kangaroo person. That's really weird.
Yeah, that happens. That happens in the comic. And they also cut out a $5,000 kangaroo dick that was supposed to be in the movie, but MGM was like, we are not. Including that in this fucking film. Are you kidding me?
You're pushing it.
Yeah.
Too far.
Abso-fucking-lutely not. But the thing is, I never really loved Tank Girl as a comic for the story. You love Tank Girl because Jamie Hewlett, who
Gorillas
is one of the most unique artists currently drawing today. Like his style is so undeniable and beautiful to look at that you're captivated kind of by the story just because he's involved with it. Like I kind of feel that way about maybe early Gorillas too. Like the early albums of the Gorillas pretty good, but they got so much more elevation because you're like, who the fuck drew this or animated this?
What is this music video right now? Who are these characters? Who drew this? Yeah, for sure. And
I think that they obviously try to lean into his art style with all the costumes and stuff that they do, but it just doesn't translate as well. And of course, not only that, but they have so many panels of the actual comic in the movie that it's like, well, great. Now I get to compare your not so good version of the thing. Like that was did nobody, once again, to the editing, did nobody think that when they literally have a shot of Jamie Hewlett, the house that they're drawn, and then they do a cutaway to the actual house that they're in, and it doesn't look anything alike. Who thought that was a fucking good idea? Well, let's show them what it could be, and then let's show them how good it's not going to be.
That they're in the house they need to be in by showing them the comic book and then showing the house. It's like, oh, well, I think they'll understand. No. We need to really feed it to them. That's the house that they're in right now.
Yeah, well, not only that, but it's the house, but it doesn't even look like the house that we just showed you. So here you go. Fun.
It's also, the choices make no sense. It's very campy. All right, so let's break it down. But is it good?
No. I genuinely, I had actually pretty fond memories of this movie because I never watched it all the way through. I was glad that it existed in the world, and I was like, oh, that's cool. They made a Tank Girl movie. But now, physically watching it all the way through, I have to say, around the fucking 15-minute mark, I was like, how much longer does this have? Holy shit. Okay.
The pacing is awful. The pacing is
the pacing.
It feels like a 2.5 hour movie. It's only an hour and a half. You can find it on Tubi TV as an indication of how buried it is in the zeitgeist of entertainment.
I have to admit, Tubi is great. I've watched so many fucking things on that for free. I love that.
Tubi Spreading has a great lineup. I'm going to say it's fine. I'm not going to ever watch it again. I just love Laura Petty. I love Tank Girl. There's a piece of my heart that belongs to Tank Girl. There's a strong attraction I have to her. So
yeah, absolutely. I would say that
yes.
I'm glad that it exists.
Yes.
I'm just sad that it didn't do better. Like, once again,
Yes.
but that's because it was 1995. Nobody knew what to do with this in 1995.
No.
Like,
and there were so many kangaroo movies in the 90s. The 90s were just a weird time for anyone taking a chance because they were making Carrot Top movies alongside this, like chairman on the board type shit. So like really people were getting checks to make movies out of nowhere and they were just fucking going with it.
Well, as we were watching this, I was like, man, what other 90s movie that was about a comic that did I really love as a kid? And I was like, oh, The Crow.
Darkman.
Yep. Darkman. Yeah, Darkman's fucking great. But I was like, you know what? I haven't seen The Crow. The entire time I was watching Tank Girl, I was like, man, I would love to watch The Crow. I haven't seen The Crow in a really long time.
Dude, and I think Tubi has The Crow, so I'm all for that. Let's do it.
I would say for the next Yeah, But Is It Good? We should watch The Crow. And I remember loving The Crow 2, City of Angels. Sadly, of course,
it's not Brandon Lee.
Brandon Lee died in the original Crow. But fun fact, Tank Girl has Iggy Pop in it, and so does Crow City of Angels as the main bad guy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
He's the main bad guy in Crow City of Angels.
I'm not looking forward to that at all. He's such a bad actor.
He's an awful actor, but I love Iggy Pop as a person.
Agreed.
Another dude, much like Ice-T, who's always just been unabashedly himself. Yeah. And I love that man. So for the next Yeah, But Is It Good? We're going to watch The Crow and maybe Crow 2. I'll probably watch Crow 2. You don't have to. I'm not going to subject you to that.
Well, we should do the same thing we did for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles then, and we should just watch the Crow movies, and we'll say...
Oh, we're going to do the Crow trilogy? I know that 3 is awful.
I think we should do the whole trilogy. Okay. I don't even know what the third one is, but I know it exists, so we should just honestly do it.
I've never seen the third one. I know it's bad. Like
it had to be
I've
straight to VHS situation. So
I'm down for this. The Crow trilogy for the next year. This is perfect. Yeah. I'm 100% on board.
I might end up watching it backwards so I can end on a good note with The Crow. So
that's actually probably the better way to watch that trilogy.
Yeah, because the third one probably is some weird prequel that doesn't need to exist at all.
Yeah. He was actually a pigeon at one point. The pigeon. Oh, God. You got to love the 90s edge, though. I did like that about Tank Girl. I was just like, oh, God. Edge in the 90s was great.
Yeah. It was so much substance. It was style over substance in every song. It's like, this, I'm doing this. Why? I don't know.
Edgy. But speaking of edgy, I believe Golden Boy came out in 1989 or 1988, something like that.
It sure did.
We're going to speak about a amazing anime that I have known of in meme form.
Yes.
But had not fully consumed until this week. And Warren, I have to thank you.
You're very welcome.
For putting me onto this. Would you like me? Why don't you introduce what Golden Boy is, and then I'll talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, please. So Golden Boy is an anime based off of the manga Golden Boy, and it came out in 88, 89. It has very classic animation, something you see akin to, let's say, Bebop, Akira,
Trigun,
Bebop.
Yeah.
Yes. So really great drawings, really animatic, big expressions, great jokes, huge humor, very mature content. Essentially, it takes place of a 25-year-old part-timer who travels from town to town working different jobs and falling in love with a girl along the way. And trying to woo them over, but knowing that he really can't, so he's just more interested in studying whatever it is he wants to. His motto is just to study. And duplicitous acts happen, some zaniness happens, and that is Golden Boy. You might know Golden Boy for the famous meme of seeming like this great, powerful anime action sequence where he's going to do the swim lap, and then it cuts to him being completely unable to swim. And that is the heart of the humor of Golden Boy.
Yeah, and then it ends with the most iconic line in meme history, "How do you like my swimming?" So Golden Boy is amazing. And one that, like, I'm so glad that this exists, because this show could not exist today. Like,
no way.
This show is horny on main in the biggest way.
Yes.
I've never seen a show talk more about sniffing a toilet after a woman's just used it than this show did, and I love and appreciate every second of it. Now,
if
I will say this.
If this show had to be remade, it would be on Pornhub. That is just how borderline graphic it is. Yeah.
I will say this. Obviously, me and Warren are men of the 21st century. We don't abide any of these acts.
No.
But if they exist in an animated form and they're actively done for humor's sake and they're not too aggressive, they honestly aren't. At the end of the day, Golden Boy is literally about a man who's actually being as nice as possible. He's just a little perverted. Like, he's
just a simp. He's a simp through and through. He's not doing anyone any harm. He's just utterly loving these women.
Yeah, absolutely. He falls in love with them immediately, and as you should, there are some truly hentai-worthy fucking chicks in this goddamn show. Holy fuck.
Leave nothing to the imagination.
Yeah, the first woman is literally in a the jiggle physics on that fucking scene. Just the best. So fucking funny. So each episode, it's a 6-part miniseries, and it's got, if you love Trigun and Company, which is my favorite time in anime history.
And like, you'd love it, yes.
That art style is so iconic, and so I love where anime has gone, obviously. Sure. But the knowing that everybody had to do that by hand and having it be so precise, but also have such its own style. Like it's so iconic. You can easily look at you can easily look at an anime from the 90s and early 80s and be like, oh man, they were just on a whole nother level. It looks it looks different. It looks amazing.
Well, also their comedic timing is something else, because to land the jokes, they completely changed their art style to make it land. Doing those like crazy contorted faces to him freaking out, or like everyone, it's a lot of freak outs is a lot of the jokes. And it always works so well. Or him getting beat up and his face is all swollen, taken from so many later on animes. It still works so well.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I would say this is one of the funniest anime that I've ever watched. Like you are 100% right. The comedic timing it's there. And not only that, like, I mean, Japan, and the amazing thing, I lived in Japan. We've talked about this before. But the story of a young man actively going out and not falling into society's trap, which is what happens for so many Japanese men and women, and just Japanese society in general is very repressive. It's not about being yourself. It's not about exploring. It's about really fitting into these defined boxes.
Yep.
I actually think that's a very important story. Like, in and of itself, like hidden underneath all of like the humor and the sexuality, like the idea that this is somebody just going out and living life so that he can be a lifelong learner is like a actually legitimately poignant and important thing specifically about Japanese society.
Yes, very much. Like, you can live this life as well. You can live a very rewarding life against societal norms.
I would say,
the big twist is also that he seemingly is an idiot. He seemingly can't succeed at anything. Seemingly will never win the girl. But in the end, you find out in every episode he actually succeeds at it, and he's actually a hidden genius. But he's just choosing to live this life to learn a lot of things, and not actually sleep with these women, but just continue his journey from town to town.
I would say, what are your? It's only 6 episodes. What were your top 3 favorite?
The swim episode, the motorcycle episode, and the first episode, the computer engineering episode.
I'm gonna say I love the swim episode. Is amazing. Like it's so fucking pitch perfect in its comedy.
It's a raging boner. The entire time.
I would say the bike episode equally amazing. Also, I mean, it's a woman fucking a bike, so there's some appeal there for male viewers.
But then
I have to say,
his brakes are shot. He's not even choosing to do it. He just can't stop.
The last episode is one of the best finales to anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it crushes it so hard that I'm just like, why can't more shows do this?
Well, you know why that exists, right?
The last episode?
Yes.
No, I don't actually.
So they had to end it. So in the manga, these 6 episodes are literally, well, not literally, but honestly the first 6 issues. And then after it, the next, I want to say 100, because I went through it quickly, are all hentai. Are all them just having sex. So the show had to end.
Oh my God. Well, guess who's reading Golden Boy after this episode's over? I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, don't let the horniness deter you. If you like comedic timing, like this is one of the best anime for that. This is one of the funniest anime I've seen in a really long time. If you are a fan of 90s art style, it is picture, like, dude, the opening sequence with his bike, like how beautiful are, like the amount of attention to detail they put on these shots of a goddamn bicycle.
Yes. But they make it an action sequence really intense, like dent 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 dent, and then it cuts to this very whimsical, funny and that's the show. It's just like in your face action sequence. He's falling on his face, banana peel, bidet shooting him in the face, you know, like just complete wacky shit.
Yeah. Wacky mixed with a lot of heart, mixed with a lot of humor, mixed with a lot of sexuality. We can't deny that. It's a big part of the show. Yes. But thank you for recommending this. I loved it. I deeply, deeply enjoyed it. And that's Golden Boy. You can find it basically anywhere that you can find anime. Now we're going to move on to, dude, this show got me like so hyped. Like watching this show and the fight sequences in the show, I wanted to go out and like learn like martial arts. Like that's so
channel the elements.
We're going to be talking about a relatively new show. Came out. The first episodes came out in 2020, but it had been in production from 2017. It is a show called Fog Hill of the Five Elements. It is a Chinese-produced anime, which is not rare, but it's not something that most anime viewers watch because China is very restrictive about how they put out content and how they make content.
Right.
The crazy thing about this, I don't know if you know this show is only made by 6 people.
Wow. That
6 individuals make this fucking show.
What is the deal with independent studios in China where it's just 6 people killing themselves? The same thing with that Wukong video game coming out. It's only 6 people doing that as well.
Yeah.
Get help.
We mean that in all senses of the word. Seriously. Yeah. Hire help and get help for yourselves.
If this is the product you are producing, find funders, find people to help you.
Well, the crazy thing, I was reading an article about it, and they're like, we can't, with more than 6 people, we can't guarantee it will look as good as it looks right now. So they're like, it might take longer, but we're going to, and the crazy thing, it has taken a really long time. These first 3 episodes came out, and it's been ages. Since, because it's supposed to be 5 or 6 parts, and episode 4 still hasn't come out, and it's been close to a year.
Because they're dying. Because there's only 6 people drawing a single panel full of color.
So that's kind of the explanation of Fog Hill. Warren, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience watching this?
So I utterly loved it. They start off the first episode right away with this huge climactic battle, which you would almost... They almost start you off with Luke versus Vader level of combat. You're seeing the biggest dragon-headed monster you'll ever see fighting these 4 or 5 masters of martial arts battling with their own style. And each style breathes so much character right away. You know, a key to a great martial art fight scene is the personality that the actor or character endows on their style. You know, you got to feel the emotions of which they are fighting with, and you feel it right away. It is so soaringly beautiful. It's almost like you're watching these mosaic paintings drift in front of the screen as their powers, not this big blaring Kamehameha wave. It's like these beautiful art set pieces floating around and blasting it forth in front of you. So needless to say, I utterly loved it. I've only watched the first 2, and I slowed down when the story began being told. It slowed down when they would kind of have to be like, "Hey, I need to sell some pots. Oh, Dad, don't don't do that. Hey, are you a bum? Well, don't be a bum. Oh, you're not a bum. Well, we'll fight monsters." I was like, all right, can we just get back to the good stuff?
The crazy thing is, I've watched all 3 episodes. I'm a huge fan of this. The story is actually fucking amazing.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
The crazy thing is, when you get into episode 3, you'll find out more about the mythology of why that demon attacks the village. Don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But yes, I will say that there is maybe one particular reason to watch the show, and that is because these are the most beautifully animated fight sequences I think I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like, the amount of energy and intensity that is imbued into every single blow that goes on screen is like, it's unparalleled. Like, so me and Warren have been watching anime for a very, very long time now.
Yes.
And these are some of the most beautifully rendered fight sequences I've ever seen. Like that whole scene with the fucking peacock where he's
oh my god,
where he finally starts using the fucking belts on the back of his like
It's like beyond just beautiful too, because it's great choreography too. So like they're able to just take like either you get one or the other. I'm sorry to say, but either you get this beautiful choreography of this hand-to-hand combat of kind of like Wing Chun or whatever, matching hands and throwing each other around, but then it explodes to power clashing. But with this, you have it all amidst it the entire time. So it's perfection. It's utterly combat perfection.
I would say that this show, if we're going to compare it to fighting stuff, I would say this is like Tai Chi. It flows the entire fight is a flow. There's never a point where it's like, oh, that was a little obtrusive. Oh, that doesn't really make sense. Every single action beautifully flows into each fight. And it's just, I can't stress this enough. If you were listening to this, your eyes are not ready for it. Like it's so beautiful. And it's so, the colors that they use are so vivid and gorgeous. It's a feast for the eyes. It's a really good story, and fucking Christ, I hope they actively do more than 6 episodes of this, because it needs to exist in a larger form. Like they need to make fucking Journey to the West with this company.
Yes, no question. Wukong would destroy in this medium with this production company. It almost feels like a 3D movie. That's the level of animation that you're getting thrown at you. It is breathtaking, the amount of effort they're putting into it without the big budget. It makes sense it takes so long because of how beautiful it really is. Yeah. Yes, thank you for the suggestion. It is breathtaking. I couldn't even finish that sentence because I was taking the breath out of my soul thinking about this. It was so
well,
amazing.
I was so excited to see this because once again, China isn't super known for its anime. Like Korea is really coming up, and I actually just started watching God of High School, which is fucking phenomenal.
It's really beautiful. Don't worry about the story because it's going to let you down.
Good to know. Yeah. Good to know. But like, I'm glad to see China putting their best foot forward, and I'm really excited for that Journey to the West game. Like both of like these, like I'm glad to see China finally maybe being a little bit looser with its entertainment. Like it's still probably not going to have the same level where they talk about the government or like things like that. That's still a long ways away. But it's nice to see China put out stuff of this quality and of this caliber. Like it really gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah, because normally their animated stuff is really stupid.
Yeah.
Just looks really bad. It looks cheap, and it's telling the same story over again. So this was incredible. Simply incredible. They should team up and make the what is the light novel that we're reading that we're obsessed with?
Of course. Solo Leveling.
Yes, they should make Solo Leveling. I mean, if they combine to do that, that would just be incredible.
Oh, God, yeah, that would be unreal.
Let's take a second just to really imagine that.
Yeah, I'm just... Guys, I know we've talked about Solo Leveling like more than once. If you haven't read it yet, you're just letting us down.
Truly.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how many times we need to bring it up for you to listen.
Yeah.
Like, please.
If you were mad at Hunter x Hunter for not doing the Chimera Ant arc properly, read Solo Leveling because they do it right.
Yeah. He took everything that was awful about the Chimera and he was like, no, let's just cut all that out.
Yeah.
And let's make it good.
Poo. Let me fix it.
And don't get me wrong, I love Hunter x Hunter. It's amazing. I want nothing but for that guy to get healthy again so he can finish this fucking manga. You kidding me? We've been stuck on that ship for so long. I want to get to the Dark Continent yesterday. But yeah, Solo Leveling is amazing. Thank you for watching Fog Hill. Thank you for enjoying it. I'm so glad I could suggest it to you.
My complete and utter pleasure.
What are our suggestions for next week? Because holy shit, we've hit another hour again. Another hour has just passed us by. And we are at our suggestion phase again. I know what I'm going to recommend to you.
I know what I'm going to recommend to you. Oh yeah, please go.
It's free this month on PlayStation Store. It's a game that I absolutely fell in love with these past few months, especially during quarantine, and that is Control.
Oh, yes. I've been dying to play it. You loved it. I can't wait. Cannot wait to try it.
So Control is free. That if you're a PlayStation Plus member, the Ultimate Edition, like the literal, all the DLC, everything is available for you to play for free. I absolutely fell in love with this game a couple of months ago. I fell in love with it so much that I platinumed it, if that says anything to anyone out there.
It should say a lot.
They're like, don't get me wrong, this is not a perfect game in any way, shape, or form. There are definitely going to be moments where you're frustrated with some of the combat and some of the stuff, but it's so unique. I don't feel like I've played a game like this in a really long time. Like, the story elements and just the way the world is set up and all, I just fell in love with the world they created. So it allowed me to forgive a lot of the other things that made me a little annoyed with it. But I am excited for you to play it. Obviously, it's a pretty long game, so I don't expect you to finish it by the next episode, but please jump into Control. I'd love you to experience that and let me know what you thought of it.
All right, I cannot wait. And something in your I can't talk today. Something in your wheelhouse that I'm excited for you to watch, if you haven't watched it already, is the Tiger Woods 2-part documentary on HBO Max.
Perfect. I haven't watched this yet. It's waiting in my queue. I did watch the other night the Bee Gees documentary, which was really good.
All right.
I was shocked by how good it was.
How much is there to really learn about them?
They are much more interesting than I thought they were. Like, honestly, you think the Bee Gees, you just think of like 70s music, right? You just think of disco.
They're just two brothers who...
4 actually, technically.
They're all brothers? The entire band
is brothers? The entire band is brothers. Except, the entire singing ensemble are brothers.
They should be called the Band of Brothers, idiots.
Fucking morons. Damn it. But no, that documentary was really good, and I'm about to start the Heaven's Gate documentary. But now that I've been told to do this Tiger Woods documentary, that will bump it up on my list, because I have to admit, I was like, a Tiger Woods documentary, that seems interesting, but I'm not super into golf. So.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not into golf, but I was there. I watched it when Tiger won, when he broke his leg. And obviously we all know when he got caught for being an infidelitous man that he is. But to hear that's not even the darkest time in his life, and to hear what drove him to that, and to see really his life and how much pressure he's put on himself and his level to compartmentalize his life, it's truly astounding. And to see his growth, it's a really special documentary. Well,
that's great. I mean, I love, once again, I hate sports, but I love sports documentaries. I fucking love getting into a good sports story, even if I have no connection to the sport itself, because sports stories are like some of the most human stories, right?
Yes.
It's all about all these deep human emotions come into sports documentaries. So yeah, it's on my list, and now it's going to go to the very top of my documentary list.
Awesome.
So boom, boom. It's 2 parts, right?
It's 2 parts. It's about, I would say, 3 hours worth of content.
Okay, that's not too bad. I can finish that tonight. Awesome. Well, that is another episode of Unlimited Free Time. Warren, why don't you close out the show for us? All right. I feel like I'm always closing it. I opened it. Let's have you close.
Do you want to do any plugs real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at Unlimited Free Time on YouTube. You can find me at All the Birds on Twitter and Instagram. And that's all I got to plug for myself.
And please check me out on Twitch at Show Me the Chaos, at my YouTube channel, Show Me the Chaos, and my Instagram at WarChow. And everyone, thank you for listening to Pop Culture Party People. We put the cult in pop culture.
And if you'd like to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, we are at the PCPP Podcast.
Bye.
Have a great night. Bye.